We'll jump into today's episode right after this announcement. For over 13 years, something remarkable has been happening. Rural hospitals and other small healthcare organizations that have partnered with Capstone have been achieving results and forming workplace cultures that even we are blown away by. It is truly a game changer when rural hospitals are the provider of choice and employer of choice so they can keep care local and margins strong. Far more healthcare organizations need to experience what's possible. That's why we're stepping forward in a bigger way, expanding our team of experts, expanding our capabilities by adding a strategic planning division to expand our ability to help even more rural hospitals and other healthcare organizations in 2026 and beyond. Capstone will continue to be the partner that small healthcare organizations can count on to meet them where they're at and guide them towards a stronger future. You can learn more at capstoneleadership.net. Really, when we're looking at workforce stabilization, it also compels us and requires us to also look at our leadership and our cultural stabilization. So, definitely recruitment, hiring, all of the efforts there to get more people in the door. We have to make sure that they're not in this revolving door and exiting soon after because of how they're led, what the workplace culture and teamwork culture, and even their pride in the work that they're able to do and the results they're able to get for patients or for the work that they do, given the existing strengths or not in people, service, and quality.
Welcome to Culture Change RX, the podcast for healthcare professionals that are committed to creating a thriving workplace culture, improving the experiences of employees and patients, and ultimately unlocking their organization's next level of potential. I'm Sue Tetzlaff, your host and co-founder of Capstone Leadership Solutions. Join me and my insightful guests each week as we share actionable insights for navigating the crucial people side of the business of healthcare. Subscribe now for a weekly dose of Culture Change RX. Now let's dive into this week's conversation where culture change takes center stage.
Welcome, everyone. Glad you're here for another episode of Culture Change RX. It is me, Sue Tetzlaff, the co-founder of Capstone Leadership Solutions and the host of Culture Change RX. And today is one of those solo episodes that we call a Culture Bite. And the focus of today's Culture Bite is about foundational strength and magnetism of small and rural healthcare organizations. So I want to talk about the foundational aspects of being an organization that has what we would describe as a level of organizational vitality and strength in areas that are core and foundational. And what I mean by that is that when aspects of our organization in the areas of people, service, and quality, those areas are core and foundational to community rural health, right? So our mission, our work is to serve our community with high quality, safe and satisfying care. And to do that, we have to have a work environment and talent that is able to provide that level of care to our community. And so that is just core and foundational. And when that gets weak, when it gets fragile, it just crumbles, right? The whole pie just crumbles. We can't build new programs and services. We can't recruit new talent and the best talent to those new service lines without that core foundational strength of our people, service, and quality pillars. And those pillars, when I assess an organization and see that the results in that area are currently weak and or trending to be unfavorable, is that it didn't happen overnight. There wasn't just one or two things that happened in the recent past that made that so. It was a lack of investing in those pillars and having effective approaches for shoring those up, making them strong, keeping them strong so that they can be leveraged for the overall health of the organization and can be leveraged for growth. It really creates what we call magnetism, right? So when those pillars, people, service, and quality, are strong, the organization becomes a magnet for talent and a magnet for growth. When things are just good, fair, okay, people may or may not want to come and accept a position with you. Same thing with patients. If those pillars of especially service and quality and people are not great, maybe they're just fair, good, or okay, then our community also is not magnetically attracted to our organization. They may or may not choose us. They may or may not decide to drive down the road, like in my community, 90 miles down the road, to seek care elsewhere, which they're willing to do. It's amazing what they're willing to do to seek the level of healthcare that they desire for themselves and their families. So, people, service, and quality, those pillars are the core foundational aspects that have to be strengthened in our community hospitals, our federally qualified health clinics, any healthcare organization, but in particular, small and rural healthcare organizations. So, right now, with the rural health transformation grants out there, and one of the big focuses of that being workforce stabilization, one of the things that I would pose out there from all of these years of experience of watching organizations thrive and really be stabilized in their workforce and thrive. My own organization included, we went from 40% vacancy rate, 24% turnover rate to 11% turnover rate and almost a zero vacancy rate. And sometimes we would have nursing students graduating in the university right there in our own backyard, basically. And we wouldn't have any jobs available for them when they graduated because our positions were filled. So that's a different place to be in. So I would call that stabilization. So this is a big topic and a big focus nationally with the rural healthcare transformation priorities is workforce stabilization. And what can happen, what I see is that when an organization is in a position where they have a high vacancy rate and they'll have open positions and not many applicants or not very qualified applicants, and maybe they're having to settle or go without, or maybe they're having to invest a whole bunch into recruitment and hiring efforts, putting out financial incentives and even some of the national regional efforts around financial incentives, loan repayment, housing support, educational pipelines. And I'm not against any of those things. That's not my message here today. So when that recruitment and hiring effort and all of the things that go into that, which may seem a little bit extreme to be able to get candidates sometimes to fill these rural healthcare positions, is that then that candidate, that new provider, that new staff member, that new leader, that new executive is met with the current state of the organization, right? So they come into an organization and they look all around them and they're really coming into the culture that currently exists, the leadership aptitude or not that currently exist, the workplace behaviors that currently exist, the care model that currently exists, and the results on the other end of that. So, really, when we're looking at workforce stabilization, it also compels us and requires us to also look at our leadership and our cultural stabilization. So, definitely recruitment, hiring, all of the efforts there to get more people in the door, we have to make sure that they're not in this revolving door and exiting soon after because of how they're led, what the workplace culture and teamwork culture and even their pride in the work that they're able to do and the results they're able to get for patients or for the work that they do, given the existing strengths or not in people, service, and quality. So, workforce stabilization is about getting more people in, but in particular, for those that are in, those that we recruit in, we need to make sure that they're met with a workplace culture, that they're met with leadership, that they're met with patient care structures that are improving and that they can be proud of and that they want to stay and be part of. And so that is a key piece of this idea of magnetism. We want to be attractive to those on the outside that are thinking about joining our causes as, new providers, new leaders, new staff in our small and rural healthcare organizations. So we want to be a magnet that they're attracted to us, that they see something in us, and that when they get there and they say yes to that, that they actually say, yes, I made a good choice. Yes, I want to stay. Yes, I'm going to contribute and thrive in this environment because of its leadership, because of its culture, because of its strength in those people, service, and quality pillars. And so that magnetism recruits them in, but it also keeps them there, our current people and the new people joining us. So we want to amp up that magnetism. And so, what is it in organizations? Well, what we have found is that it's systems, right? Four systems: one of leadership, one of agility or change, one of team, where it's an engagement process with employees to not just have a voice, but a hand in improvement and advancement of the organization that they work within. And then also an achieve system where the organization is setting and achieving goals on a regular basis. And throughout the entire organization, there's an alignment. Everyone's involved in making the organization stronger and stronger year after year. And everyone has a role in that, and they know what their role is in that. And they're proud to be part of that. And they're proud of the results being created by those systems. And so workforce stabilization, again, really requires our leadership and culture stabilization in our organizations. And when we talk about the other piece of this and magnetism, as far as patients being magnetized to the organization and attracted to the organization, that's, really about strength again, greatness in people, service, and quality. So for all your existing services, and definitely if you're attempting to grow, expand, add new services, you definitely want your community to be attracted to your organization. So if they're not already attracted and choosing you over others for the services you already have, what makes us think, right, that they're going to be attracted to anything new that you add, right? This is a challenge that many organizations have when they're trying to grow and add new services. Maybe they see in that financial equation of their profit and margins that they need to increase revenue. And so one way to do that is to add or expand certain services. But in many cases, without that strength in people, service, and quality, and that magnetism for those services you already have, when you add new services or you expand existing services to try to capture that higher revenue, what you also are likely doing is adding organizational complexity, because once you add or expand that service, now you need to lead it. Now you need to staff it. Now you need to manage its outcomes. You need to attract patients to it. And again, if you are not a magnet for talent, if you are not a magnet for patients, that's going to add, again, organizational challenge and complexity. So if your community doesn't trust you now for your existing services, why would they trust you for any new ones? So we see this too in the rural health transformation grants, like let's add, telemedicine to communities. And again, I'm not against this. I'm not against adding and expanding things like access to services in rural areas that meet the needs and the defined needs of those rural communities. But we need to think about when is the right time to do that. And the right time to do that often is after we've already shored up the strength in our existing services and our core services. And many organizations need to shore up their strength in their people, service, and quality pillars in their existing services before adding. And if the organization does have that higher level of strength in those pillars, they recognize, they know, and I know it when I see it, they know that if they expand a service, add a service, that they're going to be able to attract patients to that very quickly, to get that service line to a level of volume that makes it viable. And so, really attempting solutions like a big push for recruiting and hiring, a big push for adding or expanding services, that they are at risk for success without the underlying foundations of those core pillars being strong, right? And so, strategically, when I'm working with an organization on a 3-year strategic plan, I'm really helping them to assess their current strengths across all pillars: people, service, quality, finance, and growth. And if they're really struggling in growth and finance, the answer often is that they are weak in people, service, and quality. And so to fix their struggles in growth and finance, the answer is actually maybe not as obvious, or they don't consider it, is that actually investing in people, service, and quality and strengthening those pillars is actually the answer, the action plan to be able to grow quicker, easier in our current services, and then also in any new services, and to add talent and higher caliber talent, and to be able to retain them when we have strength in people, service, and quality. So we really have to think of the context in which we're recruiting people in to work with us, and what is it going to be like for them when they get there, right? What are they met with as far as leadership, as far as workplace culture? Can they thrive, right? And can they be retained in that environment and thrive in that environment? And the context in which we add new services or try to expand services, what is the context or the environment in which is that service internally going to be able to be led well, staffed well, produce great results, because we know how to do that as an organization? And couple that with, will the community be attracted to it? Because the things that we do now are so attractive to our community, so preferred by our community, that when we add, that's going to transfer that trust to that new service. So there are many, many rural healthcare organizations out there right now. Pausing here to get healthcare executives excited about Capstone's 14th annual Healthcare Executive Forum. Many small and rural healthcare organizations are operating under conditions that naturally strain margins, workforce stability, and long-term competitiveness. Strength today requires more than perseverance. It requires intentional design and doing. And that's why the focus of our Healthcare Executive Forum this year is on designing the future. It's all about where strategic clarity meets execution certainty. This isn't just another conference or networking event. This is where rural healthcare executives learn how to lead their organizations to true organizational vitality. If your plan or your ability to execute it is in question, if progress feels incremental instead of transformational, it may be time for a trajectory changing strategic period. Be a leader in rural healthcare's new era, the era of organizational vitality. Register now and bring your executive team. It is true that the next 3 years may be the most defining period your organization has faced in decades. Visit capstoneleadership.net and click on upcoming events. See you in June in Madison. That they're hovering at that area of good, fine, or okay in people, service, and quality, and in their systems of leadership, agility, employee and team engagement, and goal setting and achievement. I know that they're sitting at fine, okay, or good. And that is not creating magnetism for their organization. And that lack of magnetism is not helpful to workforce stabilization, and that is not attractive and helpful to the volumes and the revenues that are needed on our thin margins to be able to keep our organizations viable. So the pathway there is people, service, and quality, which is really employee experience and patient experience to keep care local and margins strong. That is the basis of something that we call the organizational vitality formula. So people plus service plus quality, and then leveraging that for speed and ease of growth. And the effect of that is positive on your financial pillar. So this is a formula that for 14 years now, along with our framework, this formula, and 4 systems, it has been turning fragile organizations in small and rural healthcare into organizations that are strong and on that continuum and that far end of maybe even being described as high reliable and achieving organizational vitality. When in the environment of small and rural healthcare and you look around, that is the minority. That is the minority. And they're not in rural areas that are easier to succeed in. There aren't factors of, oh, yeah, they don't have competition near them, or there's some magical factors that are unique to them that make them a strong organization when in an industry it's hard to be winning. That's not it. It's that they have figured out that this strategic approach of strengthening people, service, and quality, that this core strength, this foundational strength is what is keeping their organization viable and thriving and growing and improving year after year. So, if your organization is one of those where workforce stabilization is a challenge and an issue for your organization to solve, if your volumes, revenue, financial position is challenging your organization and it's a problem to be solved, I just encourage you today to think about looking at the solution maybe differently than you ever have before. That's what my organization did, a community hospital years ago that was struggling year after year, declining year after year for well over a decade, even though leaders, including myself, were working long, hard, and caring a lot. And it was because we didn't prioritize strengthening these foundational pillars of people, service, and quality. But when we did figure that out and we did implement our approach to moving those from good to great, great to even greater, our volumes grew. We went from an average daily census of 8 to 12 to over 55, from parts of our building being rented out to others or closed to overusing every square inch and having to add a medical office building, a parking deck, a offsite rehab facility, taking over an old Air Force Base hospital to add more services, inpatient and outpatient. I mean, the growth was just tremendous, adding well over 600 new employees. And this was an organization that years ago was in decline and laying off and had that 40% vacancy rate and that 24% turnover rate and patient satisfaction that was in the bottom quartiles of the country. I mean, this was an organization that those pillars, people, service, quality, finance, and growth, were all struggling. But it was when we switched our strategic emphasis and be all in on shoring up people, service, and quality that we were able to stabilize our workforce, turn on these magnets so that we could recruit, we could retain both employees, providers, leaders, and also attract patients, right? So that out migration that was happening stopped. And they started choosing us and they became loyal, even raving fans of their local community hospital. And what I've loved through our work with Capstone Leadership Solutions is having other organizations now, dozens of them, be able to use this same approach, Capstone's framework formula for systems that they apply to their specific organization and start seeing the shift in their workforce stabilization and their growth and financial stabilization. So again, employer and provider of choice, being a magnet for talent and patients that will always serve a small and rural healthcare organization very, very well. And it will make growth easier. It will make retention easier. It will make financial improvements easier. I hope that in this 20 some minutes, I've been able to maybe cause a healthcare executive out there, maybe you, to think about what does our strategic plan look like for the next 3 years? And have we really prioritized strengthening our core foundations of people, service, and quality? Safe and satisfying care, top priority. Our workplace, our leadership, top priority. And when we do that, on the other side of that, we have organizational vitality. So, again, what does your current strategic plan look like in those areas? And what could it look like? And maybe what should it look like for the years ahead? Many of you know that this year we formalized our strategic planning division to couple that with our experts and our core offer of partnerships to help small and rural healthcare organizations in execution excellence. So we can now serve small and rural healthcare organizations in planning and execution excellence. And on the other side of that, we just love seeing what's happening, even in these challenging times. We love seeing what's happening time and time again, organization after organization, that they're on that continuum of good to great, great to even greater, from maybe fragile positions to now stabilizing, strengthening, and beyond. It is beautiful to see. And that's our mission, to help more organizations do just that through guiding them to land on the strategies and be able to execute them very successfully, not to just serve them over a year or two period of time, but to serve their organization well into the future. Our very first rural hospital, critical access hospital that adopted this approach 14 years ago, we're still able to monitor what's happening in their organization in continued strength and continued growth and that continued magnetism. It's just a beautiful thing to see in an industry that, for the most part, many organizations are struggling. They don't look anything like that strength and that magnetism that we get to see through our work with small and rural healthcare organizations. So if your organization is needing help crafting that strategic plan or executing that plan you have so it can happen better, faster, easier, without so much angst and overwhelm, by adopting systems that your organization can operate on to execute strategy now and well into the future. If you are needing help with that, we have a 3-step consultation call process. It is 3 very valuable calls that are free. The first one, we uncover what is going on in your organization. We listen to understand. And then there's call 2, where we're able to take what we heard in call 1 and be able to share very specifically the components of a framework, a formula, and 4 systems where we're able to just very specifically connect the dots between your current situation, your current vision, goals, opportunities, and challenges, and be able to map them to a solution and a pathway forward. And then if that's something that your organization would desire help to achieve and to implement, the third call, which is optional, is us showing that detailed pathway in partnership with our team to guide and help. So if you'd like to engage in this series of calls, if you're an executive of a small and rural healthcare organization, you can go to capstoneleadership.net. There is a contact us page. You can book a call right there, or you could reach out to us on the contact form and we could engage with you to find a day and time to work with you or your entire executive team through this series of calls. Otherwise, you can email info at capstoneleadership.net, and our team will get back with you as well. So thanks for your time and attention today. And I'm cheering you on to being a small and rural healthcare organization that can amp up that magnetism to be a magnet for talent, to recruit and retain, and to create that workforce stabilization, and to be a magnet for patients to keep care local and margins strong, and to be able to have your community choose your organization over others when they need care. Bye now.
Thanks for tuning in to Culture Change RX. If you found value in today's episode and you are a believer in fostering change in healthcare, join us in making a difference. Follow, rate, and review our podcast on your favorite platform. Share it with colleagues and your network. Together, we can make a lasting impact. Until next week, keep inspiring positive change.